You're listening to Yelling at Clouds podcast with Shakes and Blaze.
Hey everyone, you are listening to the Yelling at Clouds podcast, a show dedicated to unpopular opinions. I'm Shakes, with me is Blaze Chambers, and in this show we're two guys discussing and dissecting our personal unpopular opinions, our spiciest hot takes, our controversial opinions on a variety of topics, and all things in between. Blaze, what's happening? You ready for episode number 3?
Absolutely, Shakes. What's
Yes.
happening? I am sweating up a storm. And just to be clear to the listeners, I'm not sitting in the sauna. It feels like a fucking sauna. Just to let everyone know, we've been in a hot spell. And to some of our listeners out of California, I'm going to sound like a baby because I've been complaining. You know, some of our listeners from Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, you guys are used to this heat. Where I'm from, I'm not used to this heat. We've been in record-breaking territory for the last 3 days. Hot. Like having to change your underwear twice a day, 3 times a day. Hot. This is like bad hot. Like uncomfortably hot when you're sitting, working from home in a leather chair, office chair. I think it's leather. I think it might be fake leather. But anyways, it's not breathable, and your underwear is not bad combination. Hot.
Yeah.
Air conditioning is running all the time. I can barely afford to, pay the freaking electricity bills because of how hot it is. So I am, besides that, Shakes, I am doing swell, my friend.
That's good to hear. And that's good foreshadowing for this episode, because I think we'll be talking a little bit about the weather. So I'm excited for that. But as always, so the format of the show is 2 opinions per show, one from Blaze, one from myself. And Blaze, how can our listeners reach us again?
Well, the best way to reach us is call me. That's a joke. I'm never gonna give my number on here, but it's Yelling at Clouds 2021@gmail.com.
Perfect. Awesome. So with that said, let's just dive in. What do you think?
Let's go right into it.
Okay.
I'm
pumped. I'm feeling good. So how about you kick it off this time?
All right. So I'm going to make mine really fairly quick because I really want to get to your topic today, because I think your topic is a very, very spicy one. So I kind of foreshadowed my topic, this heat. Everyone I talk to, despite, you go anywhere in the world, they would rather be in a warm, maybe not warm, hot climate versus a cold climate. I absolutely think it's overrated. I've grown up in a place, and I would say really in North America, and I might give out my locale here by saying this, but we are the most northerly city in North America, the most populated northerly city in North America. Is that fair to say, Shakes?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say.
I would say so. Yeah. And for your listeners, you can figure out what that city is, okay? So I enjoy the winters that we get up here quite a bit. I am a total winter guy, and I think this summer heat and living in a place where it's constantly warm all year long is absolutely overrated for a number of reasons. One, you're extremely uncomfortable to the point where you can't do a whole lot of stuff outside. The only time you can do anything outside is at godly hours of the day, like either 5 o'clock in the morning or at like 10 o'clock at night. The witching hours, like I like to call it. I either, just barely, I'm just waking up or I'm going to sleep. I know I sound like an old man, but that's one of the main key factors. Okay.
Yeah.
Secondly, it's so uncomfortably hot where you're constantly putting on sunscreen. And when you're hot already outside, the only way to cool yourself, you can't really cool yourself down when you're already wearing a tank top and shorts. You can't, you can't strip yourself down any less than that. Most places here still have the whole no shirt, no shoes, no service type of deal, right? So you can't walk around without a shirt, and I frankly don't, feel like doing that here in the city I'm at. But
It's a wife beater for me, but
Yeah. I was being kind by saying a tank top. I didn't say white beater. Anyways,
Oh, is that a derogatory term?
yes, it is.
Oh,
I would go with the ribbed white tank top is the more appropriate fashionable term. I think these young kids call it now.
okay. I've been
So
educated.
yeah. Anyways, so the thing I hate the most is you can't go anywhere with preparing yourself. Like for us, and maybe it's just maybe it's me because the scientific proof of getting too much sun can cause cancer. I'm constantly putting on and reapplying sunscreen constantly in
Mhm,
this heat.
mhm.
And it is disgusting. Like sunscreen and sweat are like the worst combinations in history. And then one of the that I absolutely can't stand in the summer because the sunscreen is my black leather seats have become white because of the sunscreen stains. And that's not the
Really?
even reason. Well, that's not even the reason. But the extra preparation time to get ready to go into the sun and
Mhm.
just the gobs of sunscreen you put on. Okay, that's one. Two, the um the amount of one can say, well, you can't do a whole lot in the wintertime. I'm like, sure, you can do a lot more than in my opinion. I could dress for the weather when I'm doing activities in winter. I can't undress for the weather, unfortunately.
Mhm.
Right. So the only
Yeah.
other way to really cool down is drink copious amounts of fluids, which comes with other you know circumstances you got to deal with afterwards. So really at the end of the day, and my biggest thing, the absolute biggest thing, the last 3 weeks that we've been in this hot spell, my sleep has completely taken a nosedive, like a complete nosedive, meaning
Mhm.
I wake up constantly, even though my air conditioning is running, I wake up constantly from the heat because I like
Yeah.
my sleep environment to be absolutely like an igloo. Like if I could sleep in an igloo, I probably would be sleeping 14 hours. I would probably be sleeping 14-hour days. Like I'll be getting
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much sleep
Uh-huh.
that I would be like I would probably be the happiest and the healthiest person around 14 hours of sleep. But anyways,
Yeah.
the
You
last
like a
three
really
weeks,
cool room. Yeah.
absolutely, I needed to be
Yeah.
an ice box. Like I
Mhm.
literally need to be an ice box, right? And I
Mhm.
don't, my wife goes, "Well, why don't you just go down to the basement to sleep?" I'm like, I don't want to go down to the basement to sleep. It's like,
Mhm.
yeah, sure, it's cool, but it's also kind of that weird dampy feel that I'm not
Right.
really,
A little moist.
middle of
Spiders
moist.
down there.
Yeah, probably, but I'm not excited about. But the fact that the sleeping, and I really don't understand how folks who live in a place like Arizona, where they probably experience in degrees Celsius here, over, I would say 26, 27 degrees Celsius is considered pretty hot for me
Mhm.
in the uncomfortable zone. I would say I bet you at least maybe I'm wrong here, but it feels like they experience that heat. I would say maybe two or more than 200 days a year, maybe
Yeah.
more than that. I don't know, somewhere along that. That's a lot, and I'm talking 21 days here in where I am right now, and it's extremely uncomfortable. I can imagine 200 days. Maybe you get used to, maybe your body acclimatizes to this, but I
Mhm.
don't know if I can ever acclimatize to this heat. Like I don't know.
Yeah. That was my
Maybe you
question.
do.
Like those
Maybe you
folks
do.
in like Arizona, like yeah, are they really kind of acclimatized to 100 Fahrenheit?
I don't think so because that's the reason why a lot of ironically when people do anything in Arizona, maybe that's the reason why only old people live there, right?
Mhm.
Because old people wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning because they need to sleep 3 hours anyways, right? So they wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and they start doing stuff, and then they go back home for their afternoon nap when it's super hot and nobody does anything, and that's why their
Mhm.
golfing is usually the golf courses are usually dead by the time 11 o'clock rolls around because it's like
Yeah.
40 degrees Celsius. Nobody's out golfing or doing any activities when it's that hot.
Right.
So they pile into the golf carts and drive to their local mall probably.
Yeah, they're all golfing. Their tee times are at like the ass crack of dawn, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Mhm.
So that's kind of my reason, and I think a lot of people you would talk to, even in the city that we're living in, they'll be like, "You are crazy. Why the we get it's 6 months of winter here. It seems like it's 6 months of winter, but I would take that over this heat that we've been getting."
Hmm.
It's just unbearable. Like everything dies. It doesn't matter. Like everything dies. Like the grass is dying, the trees are dying, crops are dying, plants are dying. Like it's so hot. You can't water anything because there's fire bans and there's fires everywhere. But anywho,
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
so that's kind of what's your thoughts on this?
Well, I like one point that you've raised, which is that like in the winter, you can dress for the winter, but you can't undress for the summer, or for the like the dog days of summer. And that's a really interesting because I've always kind of I felt the same way as you, where I felt like winter sometimes seems more tolerable than the heat of the summer, and that you can dress for the winter, but you can't really dress for the summer. Like it's easier to warm up than it is to cool off, I guess. Another way to say it. So I think I would tend to agree with you. Um, Having said that, I can't help but feel like this hot streak that we've been experiencing, this like wave of intense like heat, is maybe influencing this a bit. Because generally, here, what kind of temperatures do we get in the summer? Like 25, maybe 30 at the highest.
They so apparently I checked today. We're flirting with breaking the record since summer, like since the start of summer. The record is 14 days of summer above 30 degrees. That sound
Hmm.
doesn't it doesn't sound like much, right? But I
Yeah,
swear it seems like it's been longer. We've only had
yeah,
11 days above 30 degrees, and it's been
mm,
unbearable for me.
yeah,
Like my ideal condition, and it's right. I think typically our summers average around 24, 25 degrees
right,
with a lot of moisture. We usually get a lot of rain,
right. We do, yeah. So, I
right?
mean, is it fair to say this summer has been atypical? Like it's been abnormal.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. But I think generally, I know my climate environment that I would love to live in,
Hmm.
and I wouldn't be able to move down to a place like Arizona,
Hmm.
like to live, like
Yeah,
just because it's just too hot. Like
yeah.
the only time I visited a place like Houston, the one time, it was in um February of last year, and it was unbearable already. It was super hot already in
Hmm.
February. I'm like, how it's like this all year long. It's like this all year long. And I'm like, I can't do this.
Hmm.
I guess it felt weird to be in February, knowing the fact that my body's acclimatized to winter and being in and getting down, and I'm like getting down to a place like Houston and seeing it's close to 30 degrees. It felt weird. But anywho,
Yeah, yeah. Or like the Middle East, like you'd probably not survive
no
there.
way. I would not be able to. No way. I would live in a place. I could travel there, but for
Yeah,
vacation. But I would never be able to live there. Just can't do it. Can't
yeah,
do it.
for sure. No, I think I'm with you, Blaze. Like yeah, I don't think I can add much to this. I'm kind of with you on this unpopular opinion.
All right,
Yeah.
we nailed it.
So
So,
yeah,
listeners, you all
summer's
can.
overrated.
Summer's overrated. I'll change your mind. Figure out where we live and come visit us and spend some time with us in the winter. We'll change your mind as well.
Indeed.
All right. What do you have in store for us this episode, Shakes?
Uh, okay, so my unpopular opinion for this episode is I think tattoos are stupid. And there's a lot of reasons why I think so. Um, there's some superficial reasons. And then I think there's some other, let's say, more thoughtful reasons. And it's those reasons I think that are much more interesting to talk about. But I'll stop there and I'll pass it over to you, Blaze. Like, how do you feel about tattoos? Or I guess first, like, do
Who
you have any tattoos? I probably should have
I
asked that off. Hey,
yeah, I do. Yes, I have one tattoo.
you have a full back piece?
It's actually a tramp stamp. I'm just kidding. I shouldn't even say that on air. That sounds so terrible. I apologize for that. That's probably not even PC. Let me take that back. A lower back
Oh,
tattoo.
edit that out.
Here's the technical term. A lower back tattoo
Yeah.
along the waistline.
How long have you had that tattoo
No, I'm
for?
just kidding. I didn't. I don't know. Mine's on the shoulder, and I've had this. Okay, and a bit of a preface. I had this tattoo, um, back. I got the tattoo back in 1999,
Ooh, a
So
good year.
some of our listeners, they were probably not even born yet.
Oh, for sure not.
1999 is quite a long time. 22 years ago, right? 22
Y2K,
years.
baby.
Yeah,
Y2K.
Y2K. I did it because I thought the world was going to end.
Yeah.
No, that's not the reason. But anyways, I got a tattoo. Boy, that was, we'll save that conversation about my tattoo. I don't, maybe we'll have time to share it. But anyways, I got that one tattoo. I haven't, and it's interesting. And maybe I'll maybe preface it and maybe you can jump in and provide, I'll provide a bit of a context from a guy who has a tattoo. Yeah, I'm assuming you don't have a tattoo.
I have 0 tattoos.
Okay, so it's a strange thing. And I think anybody who has a tattoo can definitely speak to it. It is a weird, weird thing to go through and get a tattoo. The immediate feeling I got out of it was so bizarre. And I think everybody has the same feeling. Anybody who I've actually talked to have had a tattoo had the same kind of a feeling about wanting to get more. It's like breaking the tattoo cherry.
Mm.
And you want to go back and get more and more and more and more. It was a really weird thing. I had multiple occasions where I wanted to do that. And I just, never could find a meaningful thing to tattoo on my body and never ended up doing it. But I was pretty close a couple of times. Okay. Now fast forward to a guy my age, and I'm giving away my age here by me telling the story. You can do the mathematics on how old I actually am. But now that I've had it, and I've had it for 22 years, I'm at a point where I actually wish I never got it.
Oh, yeah.
Reason being is, and maybe you can talk about some of it. It has become so normal in societal culture that we have today that almost everyone has a tattoo. It's almost strange to see somebody without a tattoo.
Yeah, so let's maybe just pause on that for a second because
Okay.
I want to start with kind of the superficial reasons
Yeah, do
why
it. Do it.
I
Yeah.
think tattoos are stupid. And that's
Yeah,
the
do it.
first one. So I'm glad you brought that up because it does seem like everyone has them now. At least like it seems like a very small minority of people who actually don't have tattoos like myself. So like number one, I think tattoos are just far too common, which then leads me into number two, which is they because they're so common, they don't make you unique in any way or edgy or cool or whatever you want to call it. Um, and then the other two is like third, I think they kind of look unattractive. And then on that same note, tattoos do not age well on human skin. Skin gets old, saggy, wrinkled, and when you're old, tattoos look even worse. So those are kind of my four superficial reasons why I think tattoos are stupid. But I want to get into like the deeper kind of conversation around it. But I'll pass it back over to you. So you know, let's talk about how common they are.
I think it's crazy how common it is. Like in how should I say it? Like I'm gonna maybe use this as an example, and maybe it's not a fair example, but it's an easy example to spot. I've been watching mixed martial arts since UFC 1, since the inauguration of mixed martial arts, when they didn't have any rules and they were bare knuckle fighting. Okay. Back then, I don't even recall maybe one or two fighters had tattoos.
Mhm.
Majority of fighters did not have tattoos back in the early fighting days of UFC.
Yeah.
Now, fast forward, okay, to today's UFC, you can't even watch a single fighter, and this is a good way for me to judge it because fighters typically only wear shorts, and they're usually shirtless, so it's easy to spot somebody with a tattoo or not in fighting. So I'm using this as an example.
Mhm.
You can't find a single fighter, and maybe I'm just I watch enough male fighters now to say this. It's rare to have and super rare to have a fighter that is competing in an event or in a match
Mhm.
that does not have a tattoo. Like it's gone to complete opposite side, and
Mhm.
it's really interesting. I don't know what it is. Like, why is it? Because now they are fighting and they're on a big stage and they're using the body as a canvas to show off art. I don't really know
Yeah.
because tattoos were meant for a completely different reason historically. They weren't
Yeah,
art.
and
They were
we'll get into that, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I know you're gonna get into that, but and that's and I'm saying that's why I'm confused, like why there's so much more of it now. Is it because popular culture, because more influential people are getting it, so I thus have to go and get it. Back then, it's has always been used as an identification, mechanism. So, anyways,
Mhm.
that's where I find um I find really interesting, and I maybe it's really, how should I say it? I mean, again, it's all preference and maybe it's subjective, but I find somebody who is completely tatted up, right, is less attractive.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I'm going to take this one step further to say that I think, oh, there's no easy way to say this, but my really spicy take is I kind of automatically think less of people who have tattoos.
Like visible ones,
Yeah.
or
Yes.
right.
Yes.
So okay. So is it? I'm going to ask you a reverse question. You think less of them because of where they got their tattoo? Like you and I have joked about this a lot.
Mhm.
Okay,
Face tattoos.
face tattoos. You're almost guaranteed in the city we're from to be a criminal if you have a face tattoo.
100%. Yeah.
Oh, I shouldn't say criminal. Have a criminal track record,
Right. Right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. There's a high correlation of individual face tattoos and a criminal record.
Right. And then it's like you could probably run a percentage, possibly run a percentage, right?
Yeah.
Say 75% of individuals tattoos probably have a criminal track record. And
Yeah.
then you probably go to 50% if they have a neck tattoo.
Yes.
See
Yeah.
what I
Well,
mean?
yeah. The
Yeah,
the correlation percentage decreases the further
decreases.
down the
Yeah,
point.
as the
Ankle,
tattoo as the
1%.
tattoos become more and more concealed, the less and less percentage that individual is going to be a criminal.
Yeah.
Like statistically, I'm pretty sure.
It's a directly
Don't
proportional
don't
relationship.
take this to the listeners. Don't take this statistically to the bank because I just making up shit here, but it is something that
Yeah.
I've seen.
Yes.
I've
Yeah.
seen more, and is that what you're getting at? The location of the tattoo?
I think that's part of it. I think there's a lot of other things that form like the complete picture of like where I am on this. So like what the tattoo is, where it is, how many tattoos a person has. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. So I guess so let's start with some statistics. So I looked this up and I'll just flip to it here. So it says 2019 poll revealed that in the US, 3 out of 10 Americans, so 30%, had at least one tattoo. So
What?
what do you think of that number? Is that
That's
high to you?
bullshit. That's too low.
It seems low to me. Yeah. It says that's an increase of 9% from 2012.
Okay.
So it went from
No.
21% to 30%, but I
No.
still
No.
feel that
Okay.
that's low.
No.
But
No. So let me just re-ask, and I've done enough. I spent enough time in the statistics world to be able to start to maybe ask better questions. That number may be accurate if they randomly sampled the population of certain age range across the broad age group. Okay, if they surveyed kids from like elementary to junior high, the likelihood of anybody having a tattoo is zero. Okay,
mhm,
hopefully it's zero if
yeah.
you're a good parent.
Mhm,
Okay, and if you start looking at the demographic of maybe somebody 50 and higher, it's probably going to be lower as well. The concentration of tattoos, in my opinion, today is in the millennial and the Gen Z demographic. If you were just to pinpoint, re-ask that demographic, I bet you that percentage is way higher.
mhm. Sure. And then this poll actually confirms that. So it goes on to say that those under 55 are twice as likely to have at least one tattoo. So 40% of
Sure.
people aged between 18 and 34 and 36%. So that's a little over 1 out of 3, right?
Yeah.
Um, between 35 and 54 have at least one tattoo. Additionally, those without a college degree are slightly more likely to have a tattoo or tattoos than those with college degrees. So it's a 6% delta there, which is interesting. For those with tattoos, 2 tattoos per person, 33% is the most commonly reported.
Yeah.
So there's some numbers in terms of how many folks, the percentage of the population has tattoos. So I found that interesting. Um, but so let's kind of dive into the meat of this, which is beyond the superficial reasons for thinking tattoos are stupid. Here's where I really start to form my opinion, which is like the tattoos that I see seem to all be really derivative, like copies of other people's tattoos or like some really ridiculous pop culture reference. And I'm thinking like why would you turn yourself into a walking billboard for something crappy? Like I really I don't understand that. Um and and I'll turn it over to you. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I
About
yeah, I don't understand like and let me just maybe understand that question a little bit more in terms of you're saying somebody like for example loves a TV show
Mhm.
and decides to tattoo the characters of that TV show on their leg,
Yeah. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yes. I don't understand that at all. Like
Mhm.
that is a bit bizarre to me,
Mhm.
especially when they're tattooing somebody. And I find it really weird. I'm sure somebody like The Rock is an inspiration to many different people. A lot of, he's a great guy. He's an inspiration to a lot of people. But why would you tattoo his face on your
Mhm.
body? It just seems really odd to me, as an example.
100%.
And
Yeah.
I've seen many occasions of people doing that because I see it come up on his Instagram feed in the past where people would get tattoos of The Rock on their bodies. I'm like, wow, that's weird.
100% Blaze. And like to your point, that life-changing event in your life or person or thing, do people like not remember it that it changed their life? Like why do they need a permanent reminder of it? Is my question. And to that point also, like, you know, if someone says, well, this is like one of my favorite images, or you know, have it printed or framed. Like you'll
Yeah.
see it way more often on your wall than you will on your body.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, those are kind of 2 points that I wanted to make about just how I don't quite understand, putting something like that on your body, especially something meaningful or something you really kind of connect with. You can connect with things in a number of different ways. Like, you and I both are pretty big music fans, and there's artists and bands that we like and songs we like. If there's a lyric that I really connect with, I'll just listen to that song. Like, why would I need to put that lyric on my body?
That to me is really weird. Like there's stuff that we've done in our own home, certain lyrics that speak to us. And you know what we
Mhm.
did? We actually designed something and printed it off and it's framed and hanging on our wall.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Just as a constant reminder when we look at it whenever for example, we're in the washroom or cooking or whatever it may be. But
Yeah.
we would never put it on my arm. Like once you
Mhm.
have it on there, it becomes a part of you and you don't actually funny enough, you don't actually look at it. It's not like you look at your tattoo every single day,
Mhm.
especially the ones where you can't look at it, like on your back. What are you going to stare at like a two-way mirror all the time in order to see what's on your
Yes.
back? Who is it?
Mhm.
Who is it actually for? On the ones where
100%. Yeah.
on the ones where you're showing it off, but you're showing it off that you can't see it. Who exactly are you actually doing that tattoo for, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. My sister has a tattoo on the back of her neck, and I would always ask her like, who's that for? Like, you can't even see it. She's like, well, I know it's there. It's like, well, no, you
No,
don't.
nobody,
You don't
nobody,
think about it every day.
nobody, everybody forgets about it. Mine.
Yeah.
It's part of me. I don't look at it. I don't even touch it. Funny enough is I'm not ever going to get it removed because getting removed is a completely different story. It is painful as hell, I hear.
Mhm.
And it takes a lot more sessions to remove a tattoo than getting a tattoo. So not even in my thoughts of ever getting it removed, but it's now becoming a little bit more I'm becoming a little more self-conscious of it. And maybe I shouldn't be,
Interesting.
because here's an example of my self-consciousness coming in.
When
I
you
want
don that ribbed tank top.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so bad. I've done that ribbed white tank top, and I've got a really bad farmer's tan. It's absolutely terrible because it's sitting up in my shoulder area, right?
Right.
And like I look so bad right now. Like it's maybe the only thing that's missing is a fake gold chain or something. I don't know. But it's played into some of my self-consciousness about, when I eventually travel to Japan. And one of the things I actually want to do is visit a bathhouse. And because the Chinese sorry, because the Japanese culture is so conservative, and their association of tattoos to the Yakuza, it becomes very, very difficult. You have to cover things up when you're a North American and you've got tattoos heading into one of these what do they call these ryokan bathhouses, and it's kind of becoming, it's an issue. And especially if you come from a conservative family, there's an attachment to tattoos to organized crime. And that's the old school mentality. But now, even in some conservative culture, you're seeing a young generation tatting themselves up completely, like full leg sleeves, full arm sleeves, you name it, right?
Yeah. And I want to touch on that. And there's a few other points that I want to make, but I would think let's just lighten things up here for a moment. And here's a trivia question for you, Blaze. So, how far back does tattooing go, or what is the oldest documented tattooed human skin? If you were to guess a year in human history,
I'm gonna guess. Oh boy, at least 2000 BC.
Ooh, close. It's between 3100 and 3300 BC is the oldest documented tattooed human skin found on a human body. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
that was
surprised by
pretty
that.
close.
Yeah, no, you're super close. I'm impressed.
And what was it for? Let me ask. What was it for?
I don't have that information here, but it says that there's direct evidence that there was tattooing. And yeah, that's all I have in my notes. But that surprised me. Like, I was kind of surprised to find out that tattooing actually dates back that far. And then if you fast forward from there, the first documented professional tattooer in the US was a German immigrant named Martin Hildebrandt, and he arrived in Boston in 1846. And then
what was his purpose of tattooing?
I don't have that information either. But I have to imagine or assume that it was probably tattooing sailors. I believe that those were the kind of soldiers, sailors, and like other fringe populations. I think were the first to get tattoos, and there was like the history and culture surrounding them, right?
Right. And am I guessing in throughout history, tattooing was a way similar to how farmers would brand their animals.
Mhm.
Was a way of identifying individuals in case, somehow their heads, gets taken off and they can't be recognizable. But that's the main reason why in organized, in any type of organized situation like that, they use it as an identification or
Sure.
mark who you belong to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Identify yourself in a group. Yeah.
in a group, or identify you as an individual.
Mhm.
So it was an identification. It was never meant as a canvas for art.
Mhm. Right. So then we fast forward from 1846. In 1891, there was a New York tattooer, Samuel O'Reilly, who patented the first electric tattoo machine. And the rest is history from there. Um, Tattoos kind of taking over pop culture, TV shows like Inked and Miami Ink and LA Ink and all those shows. And
Yep.
then, of course, like a lot of celebrities have tattoos and have made that kind of more acceptable in recent years. So there's a short history of tattoos for you. But yeah, I kind of wanted just to lighten things up, but I'll go back to kind of some of my other points that I had here, which is like, I think there's a common rebuttal, which is like the tattoos are like a form of self-expression. And to that, I would say that, people should express themselves in other ways, like clothes, hair, jewelry, um, hobbies, even maybe like career mannerisms. Like I think there's just a countless number of ways that people can express themselves without, or that doesn't require like disfiguring your skin in a permanent way. Um, and all those other ways like could result in you being like an interesting human being, like rather than, putting something on the surface to try to be one. Is that a fair statement?
I think so. I think for me, it's again, I think everybody does it for certain reasons. Obviously there's sentimental reasons. Now people would tattoo something, either a date or a name or a picture on their body. I I get it, right? It maybe hoping it's allowing them to never forget and allowing them to remember a situation or an individual, and I get that.
Hmm.
Um,
But to my
I
earlier point, though, wouldn't they remember it anyway?
absolutely, absolutely. Um, Here's another one. Like I still keep a picture of my dog that passed away a number of years ago, in my bedroom,
Hmm.
and it's not like I'm ever gonna, I would ever tattoo my dog's, face on my arm or my leg or on my body. A
Hmm.
picture's good enough,
Yeah,
right? So
for sure.
it's interesting. It's one of my funny stories I want to share. I thought it was kind of strange, right? Because I had mine, like, again, I I would say I started getting my tattoo before the tattoo culture really kicked off. Like 1999 was a long, long time ago,
Mhm.
right? And recently we've had a couple of friends start to have midlife crisis. Hitting a certain age, they're starting to have a midlife crisis, and went out and got a tattoo.
Mm.
I thought it was really weird.
So they're like 45 and they're getting ink.
Yeah, it was really.
Yeah, it seems kind of
I
odd.
did. It is kind of odd, and I didn't get it. And they they went to a very expensive, place too. Place that we
Mhm.
had to book months in advance. Very popular. It's ones that have been on TV. They tattoo celebrities, so on and so forth. Right? I'm like, what? Really? That
Yeah,
doesn't that. What's the point? Like, honestly.
yeah.
And I'll save it for the next episode. The whole entire midlife crisis thing is complete fucking bullshit. Why people feel like that because they're insecure about themselves.
It's a really good point, and this is so I'm gonna put this out there, and I want to get your thoughts on this, Blaze. Which is, I think one of the reasons people get tattoos is so they can tell everyone about it, and that this like deep like personal meaning it has, it makes them think that of themselves as special, and uh, and any chance they'll get to like talk about themselves, like this tattoo gives them that reason. So to your point about kind of that self-absorbed, um, aspect, I I don't know. What do you think about that?
You know what's weird is the fact that I'm the almost complete opposite. Mine never sees the day.
Hmm.
I never go shirtless in public where because I don't not because I don't want to, but part of it is I don't even want that attention. I don't even want to have to run through that story. And that wasn't even the reason why I got it. I got it was
Sure.
just for myself. I didn't want anybody to find out.
But you got yours a long time ago, and you're
long
probably
time
a
ago.
different person than
Oh,
you are
complete.
now,
Oh,
right? Yeah.
way different, way
Mhm.
completely different. Today, I'm like, oh, it's actually kind of uncomfortable when somebody sees me at the locker room. At the weirdest part is when they see me at the locker room in the gym and it's like, what? You have a tattoo? I would
Mhm.
never peg you as a person with a tattoo,
Mhm.
right? And I don't really want to talk about it. And then this goes into this uncomfortable. Oh shit! I'm having to like defend myself, or I'm gonna have to like go through the whole spiel that I went through before in the past. And I'm gonna tell them all the whole tattoo story. I'm like,
Yeah,
I am not, I'm not in a place to want to tell and retell that story. I've
sure.
been there before and I just didn't like it and it wasn't for anyone, but I
Mhm.
get it. Like I think some people do it because they want people to ask them about it and they
Yeah.
get the extra attention
Mhm. Yeah,
about it and they want to, talk about it. I'm like, that's not, I think to me, that's the complete wrong reason. Like I'm not
yeah,
completely against tattoos, but I think if you're getting it for that reason, it's a complete wrong reason to do
yeah,
so.
yeah. And I will say I'm not completely anti-tattoo. I mean, I do think for the most part they are stupid, but here's where I'm okay with it. If your tattoo is subtle and meaningful, and I think for most people they would say their tattoo is meaningful, so that one's kind of a wash, but and it's an original work of art, then I might grant a little latitude. But I draw the line there. I think anything else is kind of beyond. But and the other point I wanted to make, Blaze, too, was something that you mentioned earlier, which is like the other thing about tattooing is like it's a permanent identification mark. Like if I ever find myself in a situation where I'm involved in some shady shit, I don't want something that will help someone
Yes.
identify me.
It's so ridiculous is the fact that whenever they're looking for a criminal, they're always identifying them with some identifiable tattoo.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's
they're
the
totally
last thing.
counterproductive.
Yeah, it's like completely opposite. If you want to be
Yeah,
incognito, you want to blend in. You want to look like
100%.
everybody else.
Yes.
But
Yes.
maybe in the future, oh, the guy who committed the crime didn't have a tattoo. Aha, we know exactly who that is. Only one out of 10 people don't have tattoos now.
He was a 6 foot tall Caucasian male with brown hair and no tattoos.
Oh my God, we know who that is. That's Shakes.
Yeah.
But you know what I
Uh,
mean? Like maybe maybe it's gonna get to a place where not having tattoos is the odd man out.
if it sometimes already feels that way, to be quite honest,
Yeah.
that it like going back to what I said earlier about just feeling like the minority of people don't have tattoos. I mean, the numbers seem to say that it non-tattooed people are still the majority, but it certainly doesn't feel like that. But but yeah, there you have it, Blaze. My unpopular opinion.
I
Tattoos
liked
are
it.
stupid.
It's interesting. To me, this is a really interesting and spicy topic to bring up because I'm sure a lot of our listeners will disagree with this opinion.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, sure.
and
Let me
and
have it.
and, and
I
for
mean,
me, for me, it's funny because I've got one now, and I would never get another one ever in my entire life. In fact, that if I ever could, if somebody offered free free legitimate tattoo removal, not from like back alley off the side of a truck, I would probably easily go and get it removed. To be honest with you.
so Mr. Blaze, are you comfortable sharing what your tattoo is with the
Oh my,
listeners, or
yeah.
is that a secret?
Like no, that's not a secret. It was I was going through a weird phase in my life, and a tattoo. I don't know why I did it, and it's really stupid. Thinking back of it, it's like, oh my God, what the hell was I thinking?
Can I guess?
It what? Okay, guess. Yeah.
Is it a winged unicorn?
It's a winged unicorn with rainbows coming of its ass, jumping over a pot of
I knew
gold,
it.
and with the Lucky Charms guy right next to it. Just kidding.
With a Lucky Charms guy riding it.
Yeah. No, it's I'm not don't take that, don't go design that tattoo, listeners. That's an ugly tattoo.
Please
But
design that
my
tattoo and email us the results.
yeah, my tattoo is far less exciting than that. It's just my zodiac, my Chinese zodiac sign and my element. That's it.
Oh,
And I don't even know why I got it. It was
mystical.
so well, it was weird as I was going through a real weird time in my life and I don't know what the hell I was thinking. Oh my God, it was so
Mhm.
bad. I'm even so embarrassed to even think about how immature I was to even think that was the right decision to make. I see I still get fascinated. I get fascinated. It's interesting. I like to on social media look at tattoos and the process of the tattoo artist giving the tattoo.
Mm.
Not the individual getting it. Frankly, I care less about that. What I'm fascinated about is the artistry that comes into being able to tattoo a canvas that's not completely the same
Hmm.
every single time
Sure.
they tattoo. So the style of tattoo I'm very fascinated in is the old Japanese style of tattooing.
Oh,
The
okay.
the art, the full back, they use the full back as the canvas, the full back
Hmm.
side of their body as a
Hmm.
canvas. And some of the artistry is unbelievable. Like the way they
Sure.
can outline something and then do the shading. And I can't imagine it's easy at all to do it with
No,
the electrical pen, right?
there's no
And
erasing.
there's no erasing.
Yeah.
There's one
Yeah.
take. There's no fucking
Yeah.
up. So
Yeah.
I like actually watching because I find it fascinating.
Mhm.
But again, I think of the individual. I'm like, what in the world are you thinking? You got a tattoo that goes from your neck past your ass down
Mhm.
to your like down your both sides of your legs. I'm like, that is a monster tattoo. Like that's crazy.
Mhm.
First of all, that must have cost you like
Yeah,
I
they're
don't know, like
expensive.
$25,000. I'm guessing maybe more than that. Maybe I don't know how much that's cost, but it just seems really weird. Like who's ever gonna see that? For most occasions, you're gonna be in public. You're gonna wear a shirt and pants and shorts,
Yeah.
maybe shorts. But
Mhm.
who's ever gonna see the full extent of that thing?
Yeah. No, it's a good point. I mean, about the display of wealth. You could make that argument, right? Let me ask you a question, Blaze. So, if you were interviewing individuals for a position, um, and it came down to two candidates, equally qualified,
Yeah.
equal, and they presented both very well. One has visible tattoos, and the other one doesn't. Uh, which person would you be more inclined to select?
Ooh, that's tough. If it's totally visible, like where? You gotta give me where though.
Arms and maybe a little bit of neck.
Like one person has an arm tattoo and the other person has a neck tattoo, or one person has a tattoo and the other person doesn't have a tattoo.
One person has the tattoos, and the other person doesn't have any
Oh,
visible tattoos.
and they're equally qualified and
Mhm.
equally. I sound so biased. You're putting me on a spot, but I would probably choose the non-tattoo person. That sounds so
Mhm.
terrible as a biased individual. You know what? I've kind of gone through that scenario before.
Oh.
I interviewed somebody who had a massive pirate tattoo on their arm, and they wore a
Mhm.
cutoff to an interview,
Oh, that's
and
interesting.
and
It's
and
ballsy.
right, and half of the head was shaved.
Were they a real pirate?
No, but this is a
Oh.
what kind of profession, what kind of position I'm in, and what kind of job and what area of the industry I work in. So
Mhm.
that's extremely not conservative for that industry, and I had to think about it, from a situation. How is that individual going to be perceived by the other individuals in this company,
Sure. Yeah.
right? And
Yeah,
that
for
and that
sure.
kind of influenced my decision on it. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's a tough one. But I think maybe it's tough. Like, what happens if you are would you be less respected if you were, like, say, for example, a top surgeon, in North America, and you've got sleeves, full arm
Mhm.
sleeves, and hand tattoos, and and finger tattoos, but you're the best surgeon, North America has to offer. Are people going to think less of you?
People may not know that you're the best because of the bias, and
Sure,
you could call it a career limiting move.
it could be. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah,
But it's
that's interesting.
interesting.
I didn't mean to
It's
put you on
really
the
interesting.
spot, but I.
No, no, no. But it is an interesting bias, and but maybe as time passes and becomes even more so acceptable, it becomes less and less. And again, if it's concealed, nobody would ever know. But if it's on your neck or your face, and you're trying to,
Mhm.
get a professional job, that's probably areas you may want to consider getting it removed. Again,
Sure.
certain professions are acceptable. Like if you're going to be an MMA fighter,
Oh,
by all means,
tattoos
go.
are it's par for the course.
It's almost again, you most have it. You most have to have it for anybody, to take you
Yeah.
serious at being a tough guy,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's interesting. Again,
It is.
it's fascinating. This area is, for me, again, this is my it's your opinion and my opinion about it, and I just think it's funny when people kind of continue to follow trend, especially when they're in the 40s and decide to go get one. I find that
Mhm.
really goofy. I find that extremely
Yeah,
goofy. But
for sure.
anyways,
I'll keep my skin clear and natural, thanks. But yeah, like you said, it's just two guys' opinions. Listeners, what do you think? Are we right? Are we completely out to lunch? Come at us. Come at me, bro.
right. And if you're nice, I'll definitely give you Shake's number. If you totally disagree, you can call him up and have a good conversation with him. But
I welcome that.
in the
In the meantime, I
meantime,
want to see those unicorn designs coming fast
see
and
it,
furious.
send those to us, yelling at clouds 2021 at gmail.com. Send us
Yeah,
your tattoo pics.
yeah. We
Not
want to
dick,
see them.
not dick pics. We don't want dick pics, but tattoo pics.
We want one or two dick pics. Oh,
Oh,
Blaze, this
right.
has been fun.
It's fun. It was a great. I'm glad you brought that up. It was a great unpopular opinion.
Yeah. Well, thank you, sir.
All right.
Well, stay tuned for episode 4, everyone. We'll be back with some spicy, even spicier hot takes.
Thanks
And
everyone for tuning in.
yeah, thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Yelling at Clouds podcast. Get in touch with us at yellingatclouds2021gmail.com.